You have 3 seconds to tell me why I should not send you back down.
I don't know you, but the man downstairs now, he will kill me!
That is not my problem.
I am gonna open these doors and send you back down! Please.
Please don't.
You don't understand what he will do to
me.
His name is Darius. He broke my wrist. He locked me up. I ran for 3 years and he...
You have exactly 3 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't hand you back to the man downstairs. Nadia does not move. 1. Her back is pressed against the cold elevator wall. Her chest is heaving. She's been running for 3 years. Different cities, different names, different floors of different buildings. And somehow she has ended up trapped in a box in the sky with a stranger who is looking at her like she is a problem he is already bored of solving. She does not know who he is yet. That is the most dangerous part. 2. He is not shouting. That is what unnerves her most. Men like Darius shout. They fill every room with noise and heat and the particular violence of a person who needs you to know they are serious. This man does not need you to know anything. He simply stands there in a suit that costs more than her monthly salary, one hand loose at his side, the dragon tattoo curling up his neck like a signature she cannot read, and he counts down like a man who has never once in his life not gotten what he asked for. 3. Wait. The word tears out of her before she can stop it. Wait, please. He stops. He looks at her. His face gives nothing. His name is Darius, she says, and her voice is shaking now. Not from fear of this man, not yet, but from the specific terror of being so close to the edge of something she cannot come back from. He followed me here from Nairobi. He broke my wrist. He locked me up. He just got out of prison and I had nowhere else to go. I didn't know this was your elevator. I didn't know it needed a key card. She stops, breathes, lifts her chin because she has too much left to lose to fall apart in front of a stranger. I just needed 30 seconds. He studies her for a long moment. The elevator hums upward. Then he does something she does not expect. He turns away from the panel, completely. He slides his phone from his jacket, types something, and puts it back. He does not look at her again. He simply stands at the front of the elevator, facing the doors, as it continues its rise toward the top of Hennel Tower. Stay behind me when the doors open, he says quietly. Why? Who are you? He doesn't answer. The elevator opens. 2 men are waiting in the corridor outside, large, still, positioned on either side of the doors with the practiced ease of people who stand in corridors for a living. They look at her, then at him. Then they step aside without a word, without a question, without any of the normal friction of people encountering something unexpected. Like whatever he says goes. In this corridor, in this building, possibly in this entire part of the city. Nadia steps out slowly. The corridor is white walls, low gold lighting, the kind of silence that has never once been disturbed by anything ordinary. She looks at the man walking ahead of her, unhurried, unaffected, as if he did not just stop a countdown and redirect an entire evening without raising his voice. Who are you? She asks again, quieter, because something in her chest is beginning to understand that the answer is going to change the shape of everything. He stops at the double doors at the end of the corridor. He turns and looks at her over his shoulder. Park Sung-il, he says. The name lands. She does not know it yet. Not fully. Not the weight of it. Not the 7 years of empire and blood and carefully constructed fear that live inside those 3 syllables. She will know it by morning. She will hear it from Jaewon with a particular careful tone. She will see it in the way every single person in this building moves around him like water around stone. But right now, in this corridor, all she knows is that the wrong elevator brought her to the right door, and the man holding it open is not safe, and she is going inside anyway. Wherever you are watching this, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far a story about a woman who hid in the wrong elevator and ended up finding something she never planned for can travel. And if this story found you at a moment when you needed to be reminded that being truly seen is possible, that it can find you when you least expect it, inside a stranger's private elevator in a city that is not yours, on a Thursday night when you were just trying to survive, then you already know you need to stay for what comes next. Subscribe, because this is only the beginning. The penthouse is nothing like she expected. She expected cold, glass and steel, and the kind of emptiness that expensive spaces wear when they are designed to impress, rather than to live in. Instead, there are low bookshelves along one wall, a kitchen that smells faintly of something recently cooked, a worn leather chair near the window with a book left face down on the armrest. The city of Incheon spreads beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, enormous and glittering, completely indifferent to everything happening in this room. Park Sung-il removes his jacket and sets a glass of water on the table in front of her without asking. He sits across from her. The dragon tattoo on his neck is more visible now. The detail of it something she registers and deliberately moves past. "You work in this building," he says. 14th floor. Mrs. Park Yoon-seo's residence. "How long has he been following you?" She wraps both hands around the glass. "He got out last week. I have been in Korea 7 months. She looks at the water. Before Korea, there was Nairobi. Before that, I was trying to make myself small enough that he would stop being able to see me. She looks up. He has a talent for finding people. Sung-il's phone buzzes on the armrest. He glances at it. His jaw tightens, barely, a degree, and he types a response and puts it face down. He is still in the lobby, he says. Nadia's hands tighten around the glass. My security is watching him, Sung-il says. He has not left. He looks at her steadily. What does he want? Me. The word is flat and carries the full exhausted weight of 3 years inside it. He wants me to come back. He believes I belong to him. He has believed that since the first week I tried to leave and he dragged me back by my hair in a parking lot in Lagos. She sets the glass down. He calls it love. Something moves through Sung-il's eyes, fast and cold, like a shutter closing over something hot. There is something I need to tell you, he says. Nadia waits. I am not just a building owner. He holds her gaze without apology. I run an organization, the kind governments prefer to pretend does not exist, the kind that the men in Incheon's port know to contact before they contact anyone official. He pauses. You need to understand what you have walked into before you decide anything. She thinks about the 2 men in the corridor. She thinks about the name, the way it landed, the weight of those 3 syllables. She thinks about the book on the worn leather. Are you going to hurt me? She asks, directly. Something crosses his face, quick, almost offended. No. Then tell me the rest. He leans forward. In 4 days I am hosting a negotiation dinner. A man named Han Gun-tae, rival organization, believes I have a weakness he can use before we sit across from each other. If he finds it, he moves first. Everyone I protect becomes a target. He pauses. I need him to look in the wrong direction. I need him to see something in this penthouse that tells him I am anchored, settled, not a man operating from exposed ground. You want someone to play your fiancé, she says. He does not flinch at the directness. Yes. And in return? The man downstairs, Sung-il says. Gone. Not harmed. Removed. Whatever arrangement keeps him permanently out of your life. I have the reach for that. Before she can answer, his phone buzzes again. He looks at it. His expression does not change, but the quality of his stillness sharpens. He stands. Stay here. He moves toward the corridor and says something low and quick to one of the men outside. Nadia hears a brief exchange, sharp, Korean, too fast for her to catch all of it. Then Sung-il comes back into the room. He just tried to access the 14th floor, he says. Your floor. He told the night guard he was your brother. The air leaves the room. He knows where I work, she says. Her voice is steady. Her hands under the table are not. He knew before tonight. Sung-il looks at her. He has been planning this. This was not spontaneous. He positioned himself. He found your floor. He found your building. The lobby ambush tonight was not desperation. It was a first move. The silence that follows is the kind that reorganizes everything. Nadia thinks about Amina, 19 years old and full of light and completely unaware that her name was used as a tracking device. She thinks about all the careful, costly things she did to disappear. The changed number, the work name. The 7 months of silence on every platform. And she thinks about how none of it was enough because it was never going to be enough. Not against Darius. Not alone. She looks at Sung-il. I have conditions, she says. He waits. My sister in Nairobi is not touched, not contacted, not used, under any circumstances. She holds his gaze without blinking. And when this is done, I walk away clean. No debt, no entanglement. 3 full seconds. Agreed, he says. Simply, like a man who does not spend words he cannot back. Nadia exhales slowly. Then we have a deal. She meets Lee Jae-won the next morning, and he is not what she expects either. He is already at the kitchen island. 2 coffees poured, tablet open, easy smile on a face that has no business being that disarming on a man with a tiger tattoo climbing his neck and a burn scar on his right forearm that speaks an entire language she has not been given the translation to yet. You must be Nadia. He slides a coffee toward her. I'm Jae-won, Sung-il's everything. His words, not mine, though not entirely inaccurate. She sits, takes the coffee. He told you about me? He told me what I need to know, which with Sung-il means he told me almost nothing and I'm meant to fill in the rest. He tilts his head. How are you actually doing? The question lands with a weight that simple questions should not have. She has not been asked that, actually asked, not politely asked, in longer than she wants to count. I'm managing, she says. He nods, does not push past it. But he holds her gaze a beat longer than necessary, and she understands that he has read exactly what she did not say, alongside what she did. He opens his mouth to say something else, when Sung-il's voice comes sharp from the corridor. Both of them turn. Sung-il appears in the doorway, phone in hand, the controlled stillness of him replaced by something tighter. Darius was seen outside the building at 6 this morning, he says. He is looking at Nadia. He waited 40 minutes, then left. He will come back. The coffee cup in her hand feels suddenly heavier. He's escalating, Jae-won says. The easy warmth is gone from his voice. What is underneath it is clean and sharp and reminds her of what he actually is. He's telling you he knows your schedule. He's telling you he can wait. I know what he's telling me, Nadia says quietly. He used to do the same thing in Nairobi. Park outside the building. Not come in, just be there. So that when I came out, I would know he had been there. She sets the cup down. It is about making sure I feel watched, even when he is not watching. Sung-il is looking at her with an expression she cannot fully read. Not pity. Something adjacent to it, but harder. More useful. He will not get past the lobby again, he says. I have 3 men on the entrance. He comes near this building. I know about it in under a minute. He pauses. You are safe here. She looks at him. I know, she says, and means it, which surprises her more than anything else that has happened in the last 12 hours. They spend 3 hours building the cover story. Sung-il is meticulous, the kind of thorough that reveals the stakes without stating them, how they met. A charity event 2 months ago, a mutual contact now conveniently abroad. Small true feeling details. Nadia takes her coffee without sugar. Sung-il dislikes boats. Their first disagreement was about directions in Busan on a weekend that never happened. By the time they are done, Nadia knows more invented facts about Park Sung-il than real ones. One more thing, Sung-il says as Jae-won closes the tablet. Han Gun-tai will watch how you move around me. Whether you flinch, whether the gravity between you is real or constructed. He looks at her steadily. You need to be convincing, not performative. Convincing. And you? She asks. I will do my part. She studies him across the table. Have you ever been in a real relationship? The room gets a degree quieter. Jae-won develops a sudden deep interest in his tablet screen. Something moves through Sung-il's face. Old and brief and sealed before she can name it. Practice, he says, redirecting cleanly. Tomorrow evening, we practice proximity. How we stand, how we orient toward each other. Jae-won stands. I'll get food. He disappears toward the kitchen with the decisive energy of a man choosing to be somewhere else. The quiet that remains between Nadia and Sung-il is different from the strategic silences of the planning session. It is unguarded in the way of 2 people left alone in a room after the reason for being professional together has briefly stepped out. You deflect well, she says. He looks at her. I asked you something real, and you turned it into a logistics item. She holds his gaze. You do not have to answer. But I notice. Something in his face shifts. The composure stays, but there is a crack in it, small and precise, like a line appearing in good ceramic. No, he says finally. Quiet. Just the one word and the full weight of everything it contains. She nods, does not press. But something about the honesty of that single word, offered without dressing, lands somewhere in her chest and stays there. Before she can decide what to do with it, J1 reappears with 3 bowls of instant ramen and the energy of a man who heard everything and has chosen the dignity of pretending otherwise. They eat. The city hums below them. The silence between the 3 of them is no longer the silence of strangers. The next afternoon, Sungil takes her shopping. Not warmly, not as a date. 2 men follow at a quiet distance through the high-end shopping district in Songdo, while he walks beside her with the efficiency of a man completing a necessary item on a list. She reaches for a dress, turns to ask his opinion. He looks at it half a second. Not that one. Why? It announces itself. You don't need to announce yourself. She stares at him. He has already moved to the next rack. His hands, large, scarred, move along the hangers and stop at a deep green dress. Long, simple, elegant without effort. He removes it without looking at her and hands it to the attendant. That one. You haven't seen it on, she says. He looks at her. Something in his eyes moves, quiet and held, a thing he does not release and does not explain. I know, he says. She tries it. She steps out of the dressing room and Jae-won, who she did not realize had joined them, is leaning against the wall, and when he sees her, something quick and complicated moves through his expression before he smooths it away, finding something fascinating on the ceiling. Sungil has his back to her. He turns at the sound of her footsteps and goes completely still for a moment, a single held breath in, the middle of an ordinary afternoon. His eyes move over her once, return to her face. That one, he says again. You already decided before I tried it. Yes. How? He looks at her for a long moment. Because it is the color of something that does not need to compete with itself. The silence that follows that sentence is the kind she does not know what to do with. She is saved from having to figure it out by Jae-won's phone ringing. He answers it, listens for 3 seconds, and his entire face changes. He looks at Sungil. Darius is across the street, he says. He has been standing there for 20 minutes. He knows we're here. The warmth of the moment collapses. Sungil turns toward the window of the boutique, slow, deliberate. And across the street, beyond the moving pedestrians and the grey November air, Darius is standing exactly where Jae-won said. Hands in his coat pockets, head slightly tilted. That patient, ownership smile on his face even from this distance. He is not looking at Sungil. He is looking at Nadia. Nadia's jaw tightens. Her hands do not shake. She will not give him the satisfaction of hands that shake. But something cold moves through her chest and settles at the base of her spine. We're leaving, Sungil says. His voice has dropped to a register she has not heard before. It is not louder. It is more final. He steps between Nadia and the window, putting his body between her and Darius's line of sight, and says something short to the 2 men behind them. Outside, things move fast. The men from Sungil's detail cross the street with the particular directness of people who do not need to run to communicate that they are serious. Darius sees them coming. The smile adjusts, recalculates, and he takes 2 steps back, says something. One of Sungil's men speaks close to his ear. Whatever is said makes Darius's posture change in a way that is not quite retreat, but is the beginning of one. He looks past the men, past the street, directly at the boutique window, directly at Nadia, and holds her gaze for 3 cold seconds. Then he walks away. Nadia releases a breath she did not know she was holding. Sungil is still standing between her and the window. He turns to look at her, and they are closer than they have been outside the penthouse. The rack of dresses to her right. The attendant diplomatically absent. Jaewon quietly on his phone 2 feet away. This closed, the dragon tattoo on his neck is detailed and sharp, and his eyes are looking at her with something she has not seen there before. Not the calculating assessment of the planning sessions or the cold efficiency of the man who counted to 3 in an elevator. Something more direct than either of those things. Something that looks almost like anger, but is not quite anger. Is the thing that lives underneath anger in people who care more than they have decided to admit. "Are you all right?" he asks. "Yes," she says. He holds her gaze, follows him out. In the car, on the way back, she sits on one side, and he sits on the other, and she looks out the window at the city, and she thinks about the way he stepped between her and the glass, without thinking about it, without making a statement of it, without requiring her gratitude for it. Just put his body in the space, and let that be enough. She looks at her hands in her lap. She is in a great deal of trouble, and it has nothing to do with Darius. That evening, Sung-il asks her to practice. They stand in the main room of the penthouse, facing each other. The city is dark and burning outside the windows. Jaewon has taken himself downstairs for logistics, the timing of his departure precise enough that it might not be a coincidence. "Stand next to me," Sung-il says. She does. They face the window side by side. She is aware of the warmth radiating off him in the cool air of the room. She is aware that being this aware is the problem. "You're thinking," he says. "I know. Stop. That advice is genuinely useless." The corner of his mouth moves, just barely. He turns toward her and she turns toward him, and now they are facing each other at a distance that is not quite close enough and not quite far enough. And his eyes, this close, are not as sealed as she first believed. There are things in them, old and carefully kept, like letters that were written and never sent. "Han Guntai will be watching the space between us," he says quietly. He will read it before he reads anything we say. Two people who love each other have a specific gravity. They turn toward each other without deciding to. It is not something you can perform from the outside. You have to feel it from the inside. "And how do you suggest I feel something I don't feel?" she asks. He looks at her steadily. "I didn't say you don't feel it. The has been carefully filing away since the shopping trip, since the corridor, since the elevator, since the moment he stepped between her and the window without making anything of it. That thing is not nothing. It has a pulse. She can feel it." He reaches out slowly and tucks a loose strand of hair behind her ear. One finger, brief and deliberate and devastating in its quietness. He does not remove his hand immediately. It rests at the side of her face for a moment, warm against her cheek. "For practice," he says. "That is not in the briefing document," she says. Her voice is impressively steady. "No," he agrees. He does not move his hand. She looks at him. He looks at her. The city pours its light through the glass behind them. Something between them has been building since an elevator on a Thursday night, and it is here. Now, in this room, neither of them willing to name it, and both of them standing inside it. She leans forward, a fraction, barely. And so does he. And the space between them closes to the width of a decision neither of them has technically made yet when his phone rings. It rings like a verdict. He pulls back, takes the call. His face closes into the composed professional mask instantly, and she watches the transformation and understands that this is what he does. He seals himself the moment the world requires him to. She steps back and turns toward the window and breathes. "When?" he says into the phone. His voice has dropped. She knows that register now. It is the register of something going wrong. "How many?" A pause. "Don't let him leave the block. I'm coming down." He ends the call and looks at her. Darius brought 2 men with him to the east entrance. They tried to get to the service elevator. Her blood goes cold. The service elevator goes to every floor. Yes, is already moving toward the corridor, including 14. He is gone before she can respond. She stands in the room for exactly 4 seconds. Then she follows. The basement service corridor is narrow and badly lit, and smells of concrete and cleaning fluid. By the time Nadia comes out of the main elevator, she is not supposed to be here. She knows she is not supposed to be here. She came anyway. She can already hear it. The fight is not loud the way movies make fights loud. It is short and brutal and efficient, and it happens in the 20 feet of corridor between the service elevator and the loading bay doors. Darius brought 2 men. They are large and they move with the confidence of people, accustomed to being the largest threat in any given space. J1 is already there. He must have been called first. And he is dealing with one of them with the focused, economical violence of someone who has never had the luxury of fighting for sport. His left arm, the tiger, tattoo visible below his pushed-up sleeve, drives an elbow that ends the first man's contribution to the evening entirely. The burn scar on his right forearm catches the light as he moves. Sung-il walks into the second man like weather. There is no theatre in it. He is in his suit jacket. He is still wearing the suit jacket. And he takes the punch that comes at him and uses it. Turns the man's momentum against him, gets behind him, and ends it with a controlled efficiency that is somehow more frightening than rage would have been. The dragon tattoo at his neck is dark against his skin. The second man goes down. Darius is standing at the far end of the corridor. He is looking at Nadia. She is standing at the entrance to the corridor, and their eyes meet across the whole terrible length of it. And the look on his face is not rage, not fear. It is the particular cold patience of a man who has recalculated and is already planning the next move. The smile is gone. What is underneath? It is worse than the smile. "This is interesting, Nadia," he says. His voice carries easily in the concrete space. Calm, almost conversational. "Very interesting. How long did it take? A week?" He tilts his head. "You always did find a way to make yourself useful to powerful men." Her jaw tightens at that. The words land exactly where he meant them to land. Dirty and precise. Designed to make her feel small in front of the people standing beside her. But Sung-il is now walking the length of the corridor toward Darius. And the quality of his movement, quiet, unhurried, absolute, makes Darius take one step back before he clearly decides he will not take another. They stand 4 feet apart. Sung-il looks at him. He does not speak immediately. He just looks, and the silence is the kind that has made men in Incheon sign things they did not want to sign. "You have been in my building twice," Sung-il says, quietly. "You have stood outside my building. You followed a woman who does not want to be found. You brought men to a service entrance at 9 o'clock in the evening." He pauses. "I want you to understand something clearly, not as a warning, as information." He takes one step closer. "There is no version of any decision you make from this point forward that ends well for you in this city. That is not a threat. It is the actual shape of your situation." Darius's eyes move from Sung-il to Nadia, back to Sung-il. "She is mine," he says. His voice has lost the casual edge, but the certainty is still there. That bedrock certainty of a man who has never truly been told no by someone with the weight to make it stick. "No," Sung-il says. Just that. One syllable with no heat in it whatsoever, which makes it more final than shouting could. The 2 men on the ground are being helped up by Sung-il's security, who have appeared at the loading bay entrance. Jae-won is standing a few feet back, breathing evenly, watching Darius with the patient attention of a man who has not finished his evening yet, if it comes to that. Darius looks at Nadia one more time. The calculation in his eyes is naked now. He is counting, measuring, deciding what this changes and what it does not. "This isn't done," he says. "It is for tonight," Sung-il says. Darius is escorted out. The corridor is quiet. Jae-won rolls his sleeve down over the tiger tattoo and looks at Nadia. "You were supposed to stay upstairs." "I know," she says. "Are you all right?" "Yes." She looks at Sung-il. He is turned toward her now, and he is looking at her with the same expression she saw in the boutique. The thing that lives underneath controlled composure when it has been under pressure long enough. His knuckles are cut on his right hand. "You came down," he says. Not accusing, not approving. Something between the two. "I wasn't going to sit upstairs while, I know." He says it quietly. He looks at her for a moment longer than is strictly necessary for the information being exchanged. Then he turns toward the elevator. "Come." She falls into step beside him. Jae-won walks on her other side. In the elevator going back up, the 3 of them stand in a silence that holds the weight of the last 20 minutes. The fight, the corridor, Darius's face and the ugly precision of what he said to her. And somewhere between the 4th and 14th floor, Sung-il's hand finds hers at her side. Not announced, not explained, just his hand covering hers, warm and certain, the way he did a thing in the boutique without making a statement of it. She does not pull away. Jae-won is looking at the elevator doors. The doors open to the penthouse corridor and they step out, and Sung-il releases her hand and walks ahead without looking back, and Nadia stands for a moment in the corridor and breathes. Jae-won stops beside her. He looks at her carefully. The tiger at his neck is present and quiet. "How long have you been doing it alone?" he asks. She looks at him. 3 years. He nods slowly. The something in his eyes that she has been carefully not looking at too directly is visible now, warm and real and complicated by everything that is also in this corridor between the three of them. "You don't have to anymore," he says. Simple. Not a promise, not a declaration, just a man stating something he believes to be true. She does not know what to do with that. She does not know what to do with any of this. She says goodnight and goes to her room, and she sits at the window and she watches the city, and she holds her own hand in her lap and thinks about a man who counts to 3 in an elevator, and another man who asks how you are actually doing, and an ex-boyfriend in the lobby of a building that is starting to feel, dangerously and against all reason, like somewhere she belongs. Her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Korean area code. She answers. Silence for 2 seconds. Then a voice she has not heard in this context. Stripped of the charm. Stripped of the patience. What is underneath both? "Enjoy the penthouse," Darius says, "while it lasts." The line goes dead. She lowers the phone. She looks at the city. She does not sleep. She does not tell Sung-il about the phone call. Not that morning, not over coffee. Not during the final briefing Jae-won runs at the kitchen island at 8 a.m, with the dinner hours away, and the penthouse already being rearranged by a quiet, efficient team who move through the space like they have done this before, and learn not to ask questions about any of it. She does not tell him because she knows what he will do. Tighten the security, add more people, remove variables, and she is tired of being a variable that gets managed. She is tired of her own safety being something that happens to her rather than something she participates in. She is also not entirely sure that is the real reason. The real reason might be that Darius's voice on the phone last night, "Enjoy the penthouse while it lasts," told her something she has been refusing to hear since the shopping trip, since the corridor, since an elevator on a Thursday. It told her she is no longer running from Darius. She has stopped. She has turned around. And the thing she has turned toward is standing in a kitchen in a dark shirt with a dragon at his neck, pouring his second coffee of the morning, and she cannot afford for that to be true. And it is true anyway. Jae-won catches her eye across the kitchen island. He knows she did not sleep. He knows it the way people know things when they have been paying close attention to someone without making a performance of it. He does not say anything. He sets a plate of toast in front of her stool and goes back to his tablet, and she understands this as the particular kindness of a person who has decided that being useful is more important than being acknowledged for it. She eats the toast. Sung-il sits across from her, going through something on his phone with the focused expression of a man running 4 things at once. Then he looks up and catches her looking at him, and the moment hangs there. Brief, charged, neither of them doing anything with it, before he looks back at his screen. "The ring," he says. She realizes she is not wearing it. She left it on the bedside table last night when she sat at the window waiting for a sleep that never came. She goes to her room, finds it, slides it onto her finger and stands looking at it for a moment. The simple platinum band, the single stone, the way it sits like something that has decided to stay. She goes back to the kitchen. Sung-il glances at her hand, then at her face. He says nothing, and that nothing has the texture she is beginning to recognize. The texture of a man noticing something and choosing to hold it rather than release it. 4 hours, Jae-won says. Then it begins. The guests arrive at 7. Nadia stands at the window in the green dress and watches the city for 3 minutes alone. Doing what? She learned to do in law school before every moot court. She breathes the nerves from her chest into her stomach and holds them there, contained, converted into something usable. She hears Sung-il come in from the corridor behind her. She does not turn immediately. One more breath. Then she turns. He is fully dressed, dark suit, no excess. The dragon at his neck, the partial blonde in his hair catching the warm penthouse light. He looks at her and stops walking. It is subtle. Barely a beat. But she has learned to read the small pauses in him the way you learn a language by listening for the spaces between words. He crosses the room toward her. He stops in front of her and straightens the already straight collar of her dress, both hands, light at her shoulders, a gesture that is entirely unnecessary and entirely deliberate. His eyes are on what his hands are doing, and then they come up to her face. "Ready?" he asks. "Yes," she says. He offers his arm. She takes it. The warmth of him comes through the suit fabric, and she does not acknowledge it, and she does not let go. Jaewon opens the door, and the dinner begins. Han Guntai is 60 years old and small and silver-haired, and he walks into a room the way very patient people walk into rooms, like he arrived before everyone else, and has simply been waiting for the space to catch up with him. He greets Sung-il with the measured formality of two men who respect each other's danger without admitting it. Then he turns to Nadia. He takes her hand, holds it exactly one beat too long. "Sung-il has kept you very hidden," he says pleasantly. "He is private," she says. Her Korean is careful and correct. She practiced the specific phrases with Jaewon for an hour yesterday. It is one of the things I trust most about him. Something moves in Guntai's eyes. Approval, or the recalibration of an assumption. He releases her hand, says something in Korean to Sung-il, too fast and too low for her to catch completely, and Sung-il responds briefly, and Guntai laughs. A small, genuine laugh. He moves on to greet the next guest. Sung-il's hand comes to the small of her back. Not a performance gesture. Too quiet for that. Too private. His thumb moves once against the fabric, barely, and she wonders if he knows he did it. She wonders if it matters whether he knows. The dinner is 4 courses. She sits beside him. Their shoulders almost touch. He refills her water without being asked. When a guest to her left makes her laugh, a real laugh, catching her off guard, she feels Sung-il turn toward the sound of it the way something turns toward light. Between the second and third course, one of Go-Untai's men leans across the table and asks her directly how she and Sung-il met. His eyes are doing the thing Jaewon warned her about, reading for the seam in whatever story they are presenting. She answers without hesitation. The charity event, the mutual contact, the introduction. She tells it the way someone recounts a memory rather than recites information, with the small, unnecessary detail that a story only carries when it is true. She mentions that Sung-il was late, that he arrived without apology, and she found that either very rude or very honest, and she has not entirely decided which. She says it with a sideways look at Sung-il that is only 30% performance. The man across the table smiles, looks at Sung-il, looks back at her. Satisfied, Jaewon, circulating nearby, catches her eye. Small nod. "You're doing well." She looks away before she can feel too much about how much she values that nod. After dinner, the guests move to the lounge. The room opens into smaller conversations, the negotiation happening in the soft spaces between pleasantries, and Nadia moves through it the way she learned to move through rooms where danger wears a good suit. Present, aware, giving nothing away. Han Guntai finds her alone by the window. He smiles with something that might be respect. "You are not Korean." "I am Kenyan. Far from home." "I am." She glances across the room toward Sung-il, who is speaking to 2 men but whose eyes move to her as if pulled by something he has stopped pretending is not there. And she looks back at Geuntai. But this is worth being far from home for. Geuntai follows her gaze. He watches Sung-il watching her. He is quiet for a long moment. "He is different with you," the old man says, more to himself. Then he looks at her with something that has moved past pleasantness into sincerity. "Take care of him. Men like him, they forget how to let anyone." He moves away. Nadia stands at the window. The ring is cool on her finger, and she understands that one of 2 things has happened tonight. Either the performance was perfect, or it stopped being entirely a performance somewhere between the second course and this window, and she's no longer completely sure which is which. Sung-il appears at her side. Guntae wants a formal sit-down next week, he says quietly. Neutral ground, away from his people. That is what we needed. Good, she says. You were... He stops. Starts again. You handled him. She turns her head to look at him. He is looking at the window. The city lights are in his eyes, and the dragon tattoo is dark against his neck. And there is something in his profile, in the set of his jaw, that is not the composure of the man who counted to 3 in an elevator. Something quieter. Something that exists in the gap between who he is required to be and whoever he is when the requirement lifts. His hand finds hers at her side. Not the ring. Not a position. Just his hand covering hers, warm and deliberate. She turns her hand over so their palms are together, and they stand at the window with the city below them. And neither of them speaks because there is nothing to say that the held hands are not already saying. Across the room, Jae-won has stopped mid-sentence. He is looking at them, at the window, at the 2 joined hands. The expression on his face is the one he has not been able to smooth away since the shopping trip, the one beneath the warmth and the easy smile, and all the ways he has chosen to be useful rather than complicated. It is real, and it is full, and it is the face of a man watching something he wanted quietly, and hoped quietly, become something else entirely. He finishes his sentence. He looks away. He picks up his drink. And in the private language of the 3 of them, the one that has been building since a kitchen island and a corridor and a basement fight, something has just been said that cannot be taken back. The guests leave by 11. The penthouse empties and the 3 of them move through the aftermath. Jae-won managing the catering team, Sung-il with his security, Nadia on the sofa with her shoes off and the ring still on her finger. The catering team finishes. The security confirms the floor is clear. Jae-won appears in the doorway. He looks at Nadia. He looks at Sung-il by the window. He reads the room with the accuracy of a man who has been reading rooms for 7 years. I'll take the east corridor tonight, he says. He is looking at Sung-il, in case Darius tries the service entrance again. Something passes between the 2 men, the full conversation that lives inside a partial sentence. Sung-il holds his gaze for a moment. Thank you, he says, quietly. Jae-won looks at Nadia, the warm eyes, the real smile, the something underneath both that he has chosen not to place ahead of everything else tonight. Sleep, he tells her, like a kindness. He goes. The penthouse is quiet. Sung-il crosses the room and sits beside her on the sofa, close, the warmth of him, immediate and steady. And he turns toward her and she turns toward him, and they are face to face in the low light at 11 o'clock at night, with the city burning quietly below them, and 4 days of everything unsaid living in the space between their faces. The arrangement is done, she says softly. The dinner happened. Guntae is satisfied. Yes, he says, so I can leave. He looks at her. Yes. Neither of them moves. Do you want me to? She asks. He reaches up and cups her face, both hands, his thumbs at her cheekbones, a deliberate gentleness that sits completely at odds with everything the world knows about Park Sung-il, and completely in line with the man who showed up at her door with warm tea at midnight. No, he says. She closes the last distance between them. The kiss is not desperate. It is quieter than that, more deliberate. The way he does everything. His mouth against hers is warm and certain and unhurried, and she feels him exhale like a man setting down, something he has been carrying for longer than 4 days. Her hand comes up to the side of his neck, the dragon tattoo beneath her fingers, and he pulls her closer, and the kiss deepens into something that is no longer gentle and no longer quiet. When they pull apart, they are both breathing differently. He looks at her. She looks at him. The space between them is different now, altered, irreversible. I don't know what this is, she says honestly. Neither do I, he says, just as honestly. She leans her forehead against his. His hands are still at her face. The city is below them, enormous and indifferent, and in this room, there is only the 2 of them, and the thing that has been building since an elevator and has just stopped being denied. Then his phone rings. Not his personal phone, the other one. the one that only rings when something is wrong. He pulls back, answers, listens for 5 seconds, and she watches his face close into the composure. Instant, total. And he is already standing. Where? A pause. How many? Another pause. Don't engage. I'm coming. He ends the call and looks at her. Darius just took out my man on the east entrance. He has 3 men with him. They are trying to breach the service corridor again. Nadia is on her feet. J1 is in the east corridor. They are both moving before the sentence finishes. The east corridor is narrow and badly lit, and by the time Nadia comes through the stairwell door behind Sungil, she can already hear it. Not the movie version of a fight, not loud or theatrical, but short, brutal, efficient violence happening in the 40 feet between the service stairwell and the corridor junction. Darius brought 3 men this time. He learned from the basement. J1 is already engaged with 2 of them, and he is bleeding from a cut above his left eye. But he is not slowing down. He moves with the economical, controlled aggression of someone who grew up fighting without the luxury of losing. The tiger, tattoo visible on his neck above his collar, as he drives one man into the wall and neutralizes him with a precision that leaves no room for recovery. The burn scar on his right forearm catches the corridor light as he moves. The 3rd man has J1's arm. Songil hits him from behind. There is no theater in it, no announcement. He takes the man off J1 with a force that is absolute and cold, and the dragon tattoo shifts at his neck as he moves, and the man goes down, and does not immediately get up. 2 of Darius's men are finished. The 3rd is slumped against the wall. Darius is at the end of the corridor. He is looking at Nadia. She is standing at the stairwell entrance, and their eyes meet across the full, terrible length of the corridor. And this time, the patience is gone from his face. The cold calculation is gone. The ownership smile is gone. What is underneath all of those things is the raw face of a man who has been losing for 3 days and is no longer managing the loss. He starts walking toward her. Darius. He does not slow down. Sungil steps between them in the same instant. No hesitation, no calculation, just his body in the space. And Darius hits him with the full force of a man who has nothing left to lose in this city tonight. And the impact is significant. And Sungil takes it and gives it back doubled, and they collide against the corridor wall with a violence that shakes the light fitting above them. Nadia does not look away. Sungil is bigger than Darius in the ways that matter. Not just size, but the particular density of a man who has been in more rooms like this one, and survived all of them. He takes the second punch, turns it, gets Darius's arm behind him, and drives him forward into the wall face first with a controlled finality that pins him completely. Darius is breathing hard against the wall. Sungil has one arm pinned behind his back and his forearm across his shoulders, and his voice when he speaks is very quiet and very close to Darius's ear. "The next time you bring men into my building," he says, "there is no conversation after it. Do you understand what I am telling you?" Darius says nothing. "Do you understand?" A long moment. Then, through his teeth, through the wall and the pinned arm and 3 days of losing, "Yes." Sungil releases him, steps back, adjusts his jacket. His knuckles are cut on his right hand, and there is a mark forming at his jaw, but his face is composed, sealed, the professional mask fully intact as if the last 30 seconds happened to a different person. His security appears at both ends of the corridor. Too late for the fight, exactly on time for the aftermath. Darius's 3 men are collected. Darius himself is escorted to the lobby by 2 of Sungil's people, who communicate their instructions entirely through the manner of their presence. At the corridor entrance, Darius stops. He looks back. He is not looking at Sungil. He is looking at Nadia. His face is a map of everything he has never been able to name. The need that became possession, the love that became captivity, the man he might have been somewhere underneath the man he chose. She looks at all of it clearly, without flinching, without cruelty. "I'm not coming back," she says, quietly. Finished. He looks at her for 3 more seconds. Then he goes. The corridor is quiet. J1 is against the wall, pressing his sleeve to the cut above his eye, and Nadia crosses to him immediately. She takes his arm and steers him toward the light. The cut is not deep, but it is bleeding cleanly, and his eye is already swelling at the outer corner. "Let me see," she says. "I'm fine. J1. He stops arguing. He lets her look. She examines it with the focused attention of a woman who grew up with a younger sister and learned early that caring for people is not weakness. It is the most load-bearing thing a person can do. You need ice and a clean cloth, she says. Come. She walks toward the stairwell. He follows. Behind them, she hears Sung-il speaking to his security in the low, rapid Korean of instructions being given. And she does not wait for him. She trusts he will come when he comes. In the kitchen, she finds ice and wraps it in a cloth and presses it carefully to Jaewon's eye. He sits on the kitchen stool and lets her, which she understands is its own kind of trust. The tiger tattoo at his neck. The burn scar on his right forearm visible on the counter between them. His eyes, the one not currently covered with ice, looking at her with the warm, complicated thing he has never once tried to use against her. You didn't have to come down, he says. Neither did you, she replies. You were in the East Corridor all night because of me. I was in the East Corridor because it was the right place to be. She holds the ice gently in place. Does it hurt? Less than it should. He almost smiles. I've had worse. I know. She looks at the burn scar briefly. He notices her looking. He does not explain it and she does not ask, and that silence is its own kind of understanding. Sung-il comes in from the corridor. He stops when he sees the two of them. Nadia with the ice at Jaewon's eye. Jaewon on the kitchen stool. The particular quality of the quiet between them. Something moves through Sung-il's face. Not jealousy exactly. Something more honest and more complex. The look of a man who sees something real and does not know how to compete with the realness of it. He sits at the island. He pours 3 glasses of water. He slides one to each of them. The 3 of them sit in the aftermath of the corridor. Outside the penthouse windows, Incheon is the same as always. Enormous and indifferent, and burning with its 1,000 lights. Inside, 3 people sit around a kitchen island in the middle of the night and say nothing and say everything. She wakes at 3 in the morning to her phone screen lighting up. A message. Unknown number. Different from last night's call. A photograph. She sits up in the dark and opens it. It is a photograph of Amina, her sister, outside her university building in Nairobi, laughing at something off camera, completely unaware she is being photographed. The timestamp on the image is 2 hours ago. Below the photograph, 1 line of text. Bring yourself to the lobby of Hanul Tower at 6 a.m. Come alone, or I send someone to Nairobi tonight. Nadia sits in the dark. She does not make a sound. She reads it 3 times, not because she does not understand it, but because she is doing what she was trained to do, what 3 years of surviving and 1 abandoned law degree have taught her. She is reading the architecture of it. She is looking for the load-bearing wall. Darius has one thing. He has always had one thing. He has Amina's location and an implied threat. The photograph is theater, designed to make her feel he already has his hands on the thing she loves most. So she goes to the door and opens it, and Sung-il is in the corridor. He is fully dressed. He looks at her face. He looks at the phone in her hand. Show me, he says. She shows him. He reads it once. His jaw tightens. He types something on his own phone, fast, precise. And in under 60 seconds, his phone rings and he speaks for 30 seconds in Korean she catches enough of. Nairobi, address, now, stay on her. He ends the call. My man in Nairobi will have eyes on your sister in 20 minutes, he says. She will not be touched. Nadia exhales. He is trying to separate you from this building, Sung-il says. 6 a.m. lobby, alone. He knows my entrance is covered. He wants you to come to him before the security rotation changes. He has been watching the building longer than we knew. His voice is controlled, but something underneath. It is not controlled at all. He was planning this before he walked into the lobby the first night. Every move since then has been working toward this moment. I know, she says. You're not going. I know, she says again. He looks at her, checking, making sure. And she holds his gaze so he can see that she is not going to do something brave and stupid at 5:30 in the morning. She is frightened for her sister and standing in a corridor in yesterday's clothes. But she is not going to walk into Darius's lobby because she is not that woman anymore. She stopped being that woman somewhere between Nairobi and this corridor. Sungil's hand comes to the back of her neck. Brief, warm, a steadying thing. And she closes her eyes for one moment and lets it steady her. "Come," he says. She follows him to the main room. He calls Jaewon. 3 minutes later, Jaewon appears from the east corridor. Still awake, ice cloth in hand, the cut above his eye taped cleanly now, and Sungil shows him the message, and the two of them move through it in the fast, efficient shorthand of people who have navigated threats together long enough to skip the part where they establish the shape of the problem. "He has a contact in the building," Jaewon says. His voice is flat and focused, every trace of warmth fully converted into something else. "He knows the rotation, someone on the overnight staff." "Find them," Sungil says. Jaewon nods. He looks at Nadia, a look that carries everything he does not have time to say. And he goes. Sungil sits across from Nadia. "At 6 a.m, my men will be in the lobby, when Darius comes and finds it empty." "He'll escalate," she says. "Yes. He always escalates when he doesn't get what he expects." She looks at her hands. "In Nairobi, the third time I didn't come when he called, he showed up at my mother's house at midnight." She looks up. "He uses the people around you. It is the only language he knows." Sungil is looking at tomorrow, he says. "What does that mean?" "It means I offer him one exit. He takes it or he does not. Either way, he is finished in this city. And if he doesn't take it?" Sungil looks at her steadily. She nods. She does not ask again. 6 a.m. comes and goes. Darius walks into the Hanul Tower lobby at 6:03 with 2 men and finds 4 of Sungil's people waiting in a lobby that is otherwise completely empty. No Nadia. No negotiating ground. Nadia watches it on the security feed from Sungil's office. She can read Darius's body language from any resolution. She sees the moment he understands she is not coming. She sees the recalculation move through his shoulders. Then Sungil walks into the lobby. She was not expecting that. She watches him cross the lobby on the screen, unhurried, composed, the dragon at his neck visible even on the grainy feed. And he stops in front of Darius and they speak. She cannot hear it. She watches Darius's face go through several versions of itself. Then Darius says something that makes Sungil go very still. Sungil responds. 1 sentence. He does not raise a hand. He does not need to. He turns and walks back toward the elevator, and his 4 men close the space behind him, in a way that is not quite a wall, but communicates everything a wall communicates. Darius watches him go. Then he looks up, directly up, at the camera above the lobby, at the lens he knows is feeding to a screen somewhere in the penthouse. And he looks into it for 5 long seconds, looking at her. Nadia does not look away. She is done looking away. Sungil comes back to the penthouse and walks directly to his office and closes the door. She hears 2 calls. Fast, the Korean too rapid to track. Then the door opens and he comes back into the main room, and his face is composed, but behind it something is running. Hot. "What did he say to you?" she asks. Sungil looks at her. "He said that you left your life for him once, and you would leave this one too." His voice is even. His jaw is tight. "He said you have a pattern of choosing the wrong men." She absorbs that. "He is not wrong about the pattern," she says quietly. "He is wrong about where the pattern ends." Sungil looks at her for a long moment. Something in him shifts. The running heat underneath the composure converting into something different, something warmer and more difficult. He crosses the room. He stops in front of her. He cups her face the way he did last night. Both hands, thumbs at her cheekbones. The deliberate gentleness that still catches her off guard because it lives in the same body as the man who drove someone into a corridor wall, without adjusting his jacket first. "You are not a pattern," he says. "You are a person who survived something that would have finished someone smaller, and you are standing here." He looks at her. "That is not a pattern. That is a choice. Every single day you made it." She closes her eyes briefly. When she opens them, he is still looking at her with the real version, the one that has no composure in it. Nothing managed, just the man. She kisses him. He responds immediately, one hand moving from her face into her hair, the other at the small of her back pulling her close. And this kiss is different from the night before. Last night was quiet and deliberate and honest. This is something that has been under pressure for too long and has stopped being containable. She feels the tension in him release into something else entirely. Not the controlled professionalism of the Mafia boss or the careful management of a man who decided not to want things for himself. Just a man kissing a woman he wants with his whole uncalculated self. He pulls back only enough to look at her. Her hands are at his chest. She can feel him breathing. I have not wanted anything for myself in 7 years, he says. Low, almost to himself. I know, she says. This is inconvenient. She laughs. A real one. Short and genuine. And he looks at the laugh with an expression she has never seen on him before. Something open. Something that looks like relief at its own existence. Very, she agrees. He kisses her again. Softer this time. His forehead comes to rest against hers, and they stand in the middle of the penthouse in the early morning light and breathe. Jae-won's voice comes from the corridor. I found the contact in the building. They pull apart. Jae-won is standing in the doorway. He takes in the scene. The two of them. The proximity. The thing in the air between them that is not subtle. And his face does the thing it has been doing for days, except this time it does not try to smooth itself away. He lets it be there for one honest second. Then he straightens. Overnight maintenance worker, he says. He was feeding Darius the security rotation. He is with my team now. He looks at Sung-il. And Darius checked into a hotel in Songdo. He is not leaving on his own. Sung-il nods. Then we go to him. I want to be there, Nadia says. Both men look at her. He came here for me, she says. 3 years of running. 12,000 kilometers. He has never once looked at me and seen a person who gets to decide things. She holds both their gazes. I want him to look at me one more time. And I want to be the last thing he sees before he decides to leave. The silence is brief. Okay, Sung-il says. They meet Darius in a private room in a restaurant 2 blocks from Hanul Tower at noon. Darius arrives and sees Nadia sitting at the table, and for a half second, just half a second, something crosses his face that she recognizes from the beginning, from before everything became what it became. Something that was real once, or close enough to real, that the difference did not matter at the time. She acknowledges it. She does not use it. She sets it down. Sung-il sits beside her. Jae-won is at the door. Darius sits across from them. He straightens his jacket. His eye is slightly swollen from the corridor the night before. He produces the smile. Smaller now, the mechanism of it more visible. Nadia, he says, like a greeting, like a claim. Darius, she says, just a name. Sung-il slides a single folded document across the table. This is a standard arrangement, he says. Transportation back to Lagos fully covered. An amount that makes further pursuit of this matter financially illogical, and a clear outline of what the alternative looks like. His voice is quiet and final. Not a threat. Information. Darius does not look at the document. He looks at Nadia. You really think this ends well for you? This whole... He gestures at the room, at Sung-il, at the ring on her finger. You really believe any of this? I think I am not asking your opinion about how my life ends, she says. His jaw tightens. I loved you, he says. And the terrible thing, the thing that makes her chest ache for exactly 1 second, is that she believes him. That somewhere inside the damage and the control and the broken things he has never named, he believes it too. I looked for you for 3 years, Nadia. 3 years. I know, she says. That is the problem. Silence. He leans forward suddenly. His voice drops. Come outside with me. Just you and me. 5 minutes. Know him. Know his people. His eyes are direct and raw, and she sees the last card he is holding. Just let me say what I need to say to you directly. Please. Jae-won straightens by the door. Sung-il's hand moves slightly under the table. Nadia holds Darius's gaze. Everything you need to say to me can be said in this room, she says, in front of these people, because there is nothing between us that needs to be hidden anymore. She holds his gaze without blinking, without anger. There is nothing between us at all. Something in him cracks. Not the charm that is already gone. Something deeper. Something foundational. She watches it happen, and she does not feel victorious, and she does not feel guilty. She feels the specific grief of watching a thing end that should have ended a long time ago. He looks at the document. He picks it up. He reads it for a long time. The restaurant is quiet around them. Jae-won is still at the door. Sung-gil is still beside her. The ring is still on her finger. Darius folds the document, puts it in his jacket pocket. He stands and buttons his jacket, and he looks at Nadia one final time, and she holds his gaze clear and finished, and without cruelty. He walks to the door. Jae-won steps aside. At the threshold, Darius stops. He does not turn around. His voice, when it comes, is stripped of everything. The charm, the certainty, the ownership. Just the underneath of it. Just a man. You were always smarter than the situation I put you in, he says. I knew that. I just couldn't. He stops. He breathes. I'll take the arrangement. He goes. The door closes. The room is quiet. Nadia breathes out slowly. Something in her chest. Something sealed tight for 3 years. Something that has been running and bracing and holding. Releases. Not all at once. In degrees. The way a fist uncurls finger by finger. The way a window opens in a room that forgot what air felt like. She feels Sung-il's hand cover hers on the table. She does not look at him yet. She needs a moment with the fact of it first. The fact that it is over. The fact that she is sitting in a restaurant in Incheon, South Korea, and the thing that has been chasing her has turned around. The fact that she is still here. Still standing. Still whole. She looks at her hand under his. Then she looks at him. He is watching her with the open expression. No composure. Nothing managed. Just the man underneath all of it. He does not speak. He does not rush her through it. He simply holds her gaze and lets the weight of the moment exist at its full size. Jae-won is at the window, his back to the table, giving them their space. The tiger tattoo at his neck. The taped cut above his eye. The burn scar on his right forearm visible in the noon light. She looks at the back of him, at the careful way he is being somewhere else right now, at the specific shape of a person choosing generosity over what they want. And her chest aches for a different reason entirely. Jae-won, she says. He turns. His eyes are steady, warm, carrying what they carry without asking her to carry it for him. Thank you, she says. And she means all of it. The toast at 8 a.m., and the midnight kitchen, and the corridor, and every single moment he chose to stand beside her, without making it cost her anything. He smiles. The real one. The small, honest one. You did the hard part, he says. You always were doing the hard part. That evening, the three of them eat dinner in the penthouse. Not a performance dinner. Not a planning session. Just food on the kitchen island, and the city going dark outside the windows, and the quiet that exists between people who have been through something together, and are now on the other side of it. Jae-won tells a story about a job that went wrong in Busan 4 years ago that ends with him in a fish market in a suit at 2 a.m, trying to explain himself to a very unimpressed grandmother. Nadia laughs so hard she has to set her chopsticks down. Even Sung-il's mouth curves. Fully this time, not the almost smile, the actual thing. And it transforms his face in a way that makes her understand why he keeps it so rare. It is the kind of smile that asks nothing of you. It simply exists. It is the most undefended thing she has seen on him. She catches Jae-won watching that smile. She catches him watching her watch it. Their eyes meet and something passes between them. Quiet, acknowledged, no pretense on either side. He is not going to take this from her. She is not going to pretend she does not see what it costs him not to. That understanding, wordless and complete, is perhaps the most honest thing that has happened in this penthouse. And there have been several honest things. After dinner, Jae-won clears the plates and says he has calls to make, and goes to the east corridor and closes the door, and the penthouse settles into its nighttime quiet. Sung-gil stands at the window. Nadia stands beside him. The city is all light and distance below them. What happens now? She asks. He is quiet for a moment. What do you want to happen? She looks at the city. I want to call Amina and tell her I am safe without explaining any of this. She pauses. I want to figure out what to do with a law degree in a country where I am still technically a foreigner on a maid contract. She pauses again. And I want to stop pretending that getting back in that elevator and going back to the 14th floor is something I'm going to do anytime soon. He looks at her. Is that too much? She asks. No, he says. The single word carrying everything he is capable of putting into a single word. It is not too much. She turns to face him. He turns to face her. The city is their only witness, and the ring is still on her finger, and his hands find her face with the same deliberate gentleness. And she goes up onto her toes, and the kiss is slow and full and honest. The kind that does not need to be anything other than exactly what it is. He pulls her closer. Her hands slide from his chest to his shoulders, and he walks her slowly backward until they reach the sofa. And they sit, and the kissing does not stop, but softens. Deepens into the kind of quiet that does not need to be filled with anything else. That is a conversation happening in a language that has no words in it. She falls asleep against his shoulder somewhere after midnight. He does not move. He sits in the dark with the city below him, and a woman asleep against him who walked into his elevator with nothing but 30 seconds and 3 years of survival, and turned out to be the most inconvenient and necessary thing that has happened to him in a very long time. He looks at his scarred hand resting near hers. He looks at the city. He breathes. In the east corridor, Lee Jae-won sits against the wall with his phone in his hand and does not make the calls he said he was going to make. He sits in the quiet, and he holds the complicated thing in his chest without asking it to be smaller than it is. Because he has always been the kind of man who understands that feeling something fully is more honest than managing it into nothing. He will be all right. He has always been all right. That is both his gift and his particular loneliness, and he has made a kind of peace with both. He puts his phone away. He closes his eyes. He lets the night be what it is. She calls Amina in the morning. Her sister answers on the second ring, bright and immediate and full of news about a professor and a deadline and a boy in her study group, who may or may not be interesting. The specific aliveness of a 19-year-old who does not know how close the world came to reaching her. And Nadia sits on the edge of the bed in the guest room that has stopped feeling entirely like a guest room, and she listens to every single word. You sound different, Amina says eventually. Different how? I don't know. Less far away. A pause. Are you okay, Nadia? Actually okay? Nadia looks at the ring still on her finger. She looks at the city through the window. She thinks about an elevator on a Thursday night and a countdown she almost did not survive. And a man who has not laughed in years, who laughed last night over a story about a fish market and a grandmother, and whose laugh was the most undefended thing she has ever seen on a human face. Yes, she says. Actually. Amina is quiet for a beat. Then, tell me everything. Nadia laughs. I will, soon, not today. Is it a man? Amina, it is absolutely a man. Is he tall? He sounds tall. Goodbye, Amina. She ends the call, still smiling. She sits in the smile for a moment without qualifying it or explaining it away. She lets it be there. She lets herself have it. Then she gets up, washes her face, goes to the kitchen. Jae-won is already there. 2 coffees, the tablet, the easy smile. But the smile today is slightly different, more settled. Like a man who went through something in the night and came out the other side of it with his footing intact and his hands open. He slides her coffee toward her. She takes it. Are you okay? She asks, the same way he asked her that first morning. Actually, he looks at her. He understands exactly what she is asking, and he does not pretend otherwise. I will be, he says. Honest. Unhurried. The truest version of a person accepting the shape of a thing without fighting the shape of it. She nods. She does not push past it. She sits across from him and they drink. Sung-il came out smiling. He sits between them, pours his own coffee, and opens his phone. The dragon at his neck. The partial blonde catching the morning light. The 3 of them sit in the particular comfortable quiet of people who have earned the right to be quiet together. Outside the window, Incheon goes about its business with no idea what survived inside it. The city does not know about the elevator, or the countdown, or the corridor, or 3 years of running that ended on a Thursday night on the 44th floor. But they know. All three of them know. And that, the knowing, the shared weight of it, the specific warmth of being understood by the people sitting beside you, is the thing Nadia Ocheng came 12,000 kilometers without knowing she was looking for. She wraps both hands around her coffee cup. She looks at the shrinking. 12,000 kilometers of shrinking. 12,000 kilometers of running. And one wrong elevator that turned out to be exactly right. Some of you watching this are in the middle of your own version of that journey. You are not at the ending yet, but you are moving. And that matters more than you know. Drop your city in the comments. Let us see where Nadia's story traveled today. Share it with someone who needs it. And subscribe. Because every week we come back here and we tell stories about women who choose themselves. Even when it is hard, even when it is late, even when they are not sure the version of themselves they are running towards still exists. Nadia did. And so can you.